I want to share with you the last hours of my father's life and what happened. It's a spiritual experience that was so profound. I want the world to know that there's more than just this. There's more than just this life. My father was dying, and I didn't want him to. I'm sitting in the hospital holding his hand, and it's big and warm, and I'm begging him not to leave me. I don't want him to die. I can't stand the fact that he is. I know it's inevitable, but I'm literally begging him to not leave me. His hand's big and warm. My visions of my whole life with my father have been flooding through my mind the last 40 hours. I'm never wanting to let go of this man's hand. I can't even comprehend life without him. The main vision that kept reoccurring is he's running alongside of me, and I'm a young girl, and he's holding my bicycle seat. And as I'm sitting in the hospital holding the hand of my dying father, in my mind's eye, I see him as a young man running alongside me. And I'm 8 years old. It was so surreal, so surreal. And this goes on. I could hear him panting. I could hear the cars driving by. I could hear the breeze in the air, and I'm scared, and I don't want him to ever let go of my bicycle seat. Then now I'm an adult, and I'm back in his hospital room, and I'm holding his hand, and I don't ever want to let go of his hand, and I don't ever want to let go of this relationship and this life I've got with this man. How am I going to do life without him? But time's passing, and it's inevitable that he's going to leave us one day, 1 minute. How many seconds do I have left with him? I don't know. I'm begging him not to die. Time goes on, and it's time. I've got to leave the hospital room for a few hours. I'm going to drive down the street and get some soup. I must have looked pretty rough when I walked into the diner. I'm ordering the soup, and the waitress is busying herself behind the counter, and I order the soup to go. She says to me, "Why don't you sit at the counter and eat it here?" I figure I must have looked pretty rough. So I sit down. She asks me, "Is everything okay?" And I say, "No, my father's dying, and I don't want him to." And she goes and gets the soup. She comes back, and she says, "I'm sorry." And as she's leaning her arm across the counter to give me the soup, it's like her arm changes, and it turns into the hand of a man. And it's not her arm, it's a man's hand, and there's a white shirt sleeve. And I look up, I'm thinking, okay, I need sleep. I'm losing my mind right now. And then I look up, and it's almost like her eyes changed color. Just then, she holds my hand and she says, "It's his time. You must let him go. It's his time. God needs him now, and you can't keep holding him here. It's his time." Any other day, I would have ran out of that restaurant screaming, but not today. I had an overwhelming sense of peace. I knew that I had just felt God's grace. I sat there. She pulled her arm back. As she was pulling her arm back, it turned back to her arm, and her eyes turned back to her eyes. She was busying herself again behind the counter like nothing had just happened. I finished eating the soup, paid, drove back. As I'm driving back to my father's hospital room, again, the vision of him as a young man running alongside of me, holding my bicycle seat so tight. And I'm yelling, don't let go, Daddy. Don't ever let go of my seat." But I know I need to let go because it's his time and God's calling him. I leave the restaurant, and there's this overwhelming sense of peace. I know now that I need to let go of my father. Part of me was thinking, I have the power to keep him here. I'm the one that was keeping him here. Again, I'm feeling him as a young man holding that bicycle seat, and I'm saying, don't ever let go, Daddy, don't ever let go. I don't remember leaving the car and walking into the hospital, but now I'm back in his room, and I'm back at his bedside, and I'm holding his hand. I look at him, and his breath is very labored. It's very difficult for him to breathe. And I'm 100% truthful when I look right at him and say, don't worry, it's your time. I know you need to leave us. I know God's calling you. It's okay. I'm okay now. And his hand's still warm. The whole time I'm holding his big warm hand. I tell him it's okay. We'll all be fine. I'll make us all get along. We won't ever leave Mom in a home. We'll leave her in your home. Don't worry, Dad, you're free to go now. You did good. You did the best any man could do. As I'm talking to my father, his hand turns cold. It's not warm anymore, and I know he's leaving. I could feel other people coming into the room now, and it's okay. I'm letting go of his cold hand, and I'm saying goodbyes, and I'll see you in the mornings to the family members that are there. I leave with my 2 nephews to drive home. As I'm driving home to my mother's and father's home, I feel my sister driving by us. I feel her heart beating. Again, as I'm driving to my mother's home, once again, the vision is happening again. I'm feeling my father holding my bicycle seat, and he's running alongside of me. I could feel the warm summer air. I feel my sister's feet hit the floor. I feel the minute she is entering the hospital room, she starts to run. She starts to run to my father's room. It's almost like something picked her up, and I hear wings flapping. Simultaneously, I'm pulling up in my mother's driveway. I hear my uncles giggle. I feel wings around my sister, and I think I'm going crazy. Right when I'm reaching for my mother's doorknob to walk into her home, I hear the phone ringing. But in my mind's eye, I'm a little girl, and I'm riding my bike, and it's that hot summer day, and I'm going, Daddy, Daddy, and I turn around on my bike, and my father's right down the street going, ow, you can do it, you're doing it. I'm walking into my mother's home now. I walk to the phone, I pick up the phone, I already know what they're gonna say. Your father just passed. This all happened simultaneously. It was weeks before I spoke to my younger sister about my vision. She was startled. She revealed to me then. She doesn't know why, but once she hit the hospital doors, she started to run. When she was running, it was like for a few moments she didn't feel her feet on the floor. She felt my uncle's giggle also, my dad's brother. She felt what appeared to be wings around her. Right when she got to my father's bed, he had passed seconds earlier. Ever since this happened, I've never been the same. I know that God's grace is everywhere. I know there's more than just this life, and it's very important that I let you all know. You need to know God's grace is everywhere. Hello, I'm MaryJo Romano. I'm a self-published independent author. I wrote a story about my crazy, overly protective Italian father. The title is Visions of My Father, Ode to Killer Joe. I named that after the song by Quincy Jones, Killer Joe. I have many stories to tell and many, many more to share. Those stories are in Visions of My Father, Ode to Killer Joe. I'm on Amazon. I'm on Smashwords. There's an electronic version. There's an audio version. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do. I'd be happy to tweet back. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you, and I would love, love, love for you to order my book. Oh God. Oh God, that sounded horrible.